Hello, friends, and welcome back to How to Film Weddings. I'm John Bunn, and today we're talking about something that changed the game for me, and that is raising my prices. We're going to dig into the 5 things that helped me raise my prices in the wedding industry. I remember the days when I was stuck charging $2,500 and just couldn't figure out how other people were charging $5,000 or $10,000 or even more. And the truth is, it wasn't just about getting better at filming weddings. It was about getting better at how I showed up, how I positioned myself, and who I was talking to. So today, I'm going to be breaking down the 5 things that help me raise my rates without burning out, selling my soul, or turning into someone I'm not. So if you're a wedding creative and you're tired of feeling underpaid, this episode is for you. Before we get into today's episode, I do want to talk to you about our friends over at MusicBed. I literally just finished a teaser this morning because I was able to find a song so quickly from a wedding I did last weekend. I went on to MusicBed. I used the AI search feature to find a song that sounded like the last teaser film that I made, and it pulled up about 20 songs that allowed me to immediately pick the right song and get going on my work. I don't know about you, but to spend days trying to find the right music is in the past. Those are the days of the past for me because I no longer waste all that time because MusicBed has done the hard work for me. If you're not already using MusicBed, check out howtofilmweddings.com/musicbed to see all the promos and the options that they have for you today. So the first point that I want to give you today on the 5 things that really helped me raise my prices in the wedding industry was, I've been talking about this a little on the podcast, but the first thing was clarity on my brand and my buyer. What do I mean by that? What I mean is that you can't attract high-end clients if your brand is speaking to everyone. If you're thinking about cars or things like that, a Toyota is speaking to everyone. It's not going to attract a higher end client, for the most part, like a Toyota Camry maybe, or something like that. It's pretty, everybody's fine with it. If you ride in one, it was great. It was fine. It was a good ride. It was awesome, but you're not going to be charging the big bucks or raising your prices if you're speaking to everyone. So the first thing that I would inquire you or implore you to do would be to define who do you actually want to serve. You want to get specific on this. You want to really write out and know the kinds of clients you want to work with and why you want to work with them. And so the more specific you can be, the better. And I've talked about finding and building my ideal buyer avatar on recent podcast episodes. And you might want to check on those. But if you don't know who you actually want to serve, you're never going to be able to push your prices higher. You're always going to just kind of find yourself in the lower to middle market. So when I decided to do that, it clearly shifted my tone and my aesthetic and my messaging. And whenever you start to think about the tone of your brand, if you think about the aesthetic of your brand, the messaging of your brand alongside who you want to work with, you start attracting people that see the value in that. Again, if you're trying to show up for everybody, you're going to show up decently for everybody. But if you get really specific and then really get clarity, that's whenever you're going to find yourself really starting to attract the right people. Vague brands stay stuck at low price points. It's just the truth. If you think about it, the ones that get higher in price point, like if you think about a watch, what watch comes to mind is like a higher price point, probably something like a Rolex. You don't see a Rolex just kind of appealing to everyone. There's a very specific kind of person that's saving up and earning and purchasing those. And so Rolex's messaging, their aesthetic, their tone, their brand is completely different than maybe some kind of cheaper $30 watch, which the $30 watch isn't bad, but this episode is showing you how I raised my prices, and you've got to get out of the world of being vague. So, you've got to use that clarity to filter your decisions, once you have that. So what are you going to post? Who are you going to work with? What to say yes to, what to say no to. Those things all matter when you have clarity on your brand and your buyer. And so if you think about that, it has nothing to do with the camera lens. That matters, of course. You got to have really high quality work, but if you don't have clarity on your brand and your buyer, you're never going to get to a place where you're going to attract people that really want to spend good money on your services. So, number 2 is you want to build a premium brand presence. So, I think about this, and it's probably even shorter at this point, but people judge you in 3 seconds or less. Does your brand say budget, or does it say, high end? What does it say? And so think about this, like the look and feel of your website and your Instagram feed, your logo and your messaging needs to match your pricing. You can't usually do this on your own. A lot of times you need to hire somebody in to help with these things. Branding companies, design companies, logo design companies, copywriters. And then you have to also think of your brand like your packaging. Like, would you pay $10,000 for something wrapped in duct tape? Maybe if it was like you knew there was a diamond in there or something, but the way you wrap your product, your brand really matters. And so if you think of your brand as the packaging for the service that you're offering, what does it say to potential buyers? Does it say, oh, cheap? Does this, they're probably pretty average in price? Or when they see your logo, when they see your website, when they see the messaging, when they see all these things and the tone, do they think, ooh, that's a little bit more expensive? If you go and look at magazine ads or watch an ad on a Sunday afternoon during a golf commercial and Mercedes pops up, the words that they use, the tone that they have, the font choices, the color choices, all of it screams luxury, high-end, expensive. You think about Gucci or Prada or all of these things, they're not using like a Comic Sans font. They're using, very specific fonts that are classic and sans serif and all these different things because they're building a premium brand experience. And that's the second thing you have to do is you have to really determine, you don't need to have to build a premium luxury brand presence. You can have a funky brand that feels really expensive still, or like a creative brand that feels really expensive. But if you've made it yourself on Canva, you're most likely not coming across premium. And so defining your ideal buyer and your ideal buyer types and then building a premium brand experience really helped me to grow my pricing to past that 20,000 or so range. So moving forward, the third thing is you want to be seen by the right people. And what do I mean by that? Going viral, it means nothing if the wrong people are watching your work or viewing your photos or seeing your design. Being seen by the right people is very important. And I think in these days with the internet, how it is, we think, oh, I need other wedding filmmakers to think I'm awesome. But that's not the truth. We need the right people. And if we haven't defined the right people, how do we know what we're aiming at? How do we know what to post? How do we know our brand voice? We then want to be seen by those right people. And so I want to talk to you about the myth of reach. It's not about more eyes. It's about the right eyes. There's this myth that if you can get 10 million views, it's going to be great. But I would rather have 100 engaged females that are in sororities, that are having their wedding planning, helping with their mom, like their mom's helping plan and their dad's paying for it. And they're a friend of somebody I've already worked with. I'd rather have 100 of that than 10 million random people watching a video of mine on Instagram or some photos of mine. So the myth of reach, it's not just about reach, but it's about the right kind of reach. So, you have to ask yourself, like, where do high-end clients and planners or photographers hang out? Where are they going to be? What events are they going to be at? Are they going to be as part of certain retreats, or are they in certain magazines in your area, or are they at certain networking groups in your area? And so you got to know where the high end clients, and planners are actually going to hang out on the vendor side, but then also the clients, as in like the actual couples. Where are they going to be that you can show up in front of them? Maybe that's on Instagram. Maybe that's whatever, but you need to know where your clients are and where they're going to be hanging out. So I would say your strategy should include things like styled shoots or networking with planners, making sure to tag vendors, a very intentional feed. And that is really important. And, it reminds me of a planner friend of mine that I just got in the same room with her. I'm friends with her. I ended up hiring her to do a workshop for me. We just become friends over the years, but like by making that relationship and hooking her up and giving her great footage on the first wedding, it got me in front of her, and she is working with my dream clients. And so now when she calls me and says, are you available on October 25th? I'm able to then know that I'm going to be working with a dream client. And so you want to be seen by the right people. So ask yourself, where am I showing up? Am I showing up in my stories? How am I showing up in my stories? Am I coming across the wrong way in my stories? Am I really pointing the smoke in the mirrors to show that my brand is very elegant and amazing and awesome, or funky and weird, or whatever? But you get to shape kind of that narrative online about you. And how are you showing up to these people? How are you showing up in front of these people? Before we move on to point number 4, speaking of packaging and branding, I have to tell you about my friends over at VidFlow, howtofilmweddings.com/VidFlow for all the best promos and deals. Of course, VidFlow is a place where you can upload your wedding films, your photos, and you can deliver your films in a way that actually makes you look good. You can be on brand. You can choose the colors. You can choose the fonts. You can upload your logos. You can embed it into your website and digitally deliver your films to couples so they know they can download them in high quality and have them backed up for life. So if you want to check them out, they have paper project, they have subscriptions, they have all kinds of different things over at howtofilmweddings.com/VidFlow. Okay. Number 4, relationships raised my rates. You can't buy your way into the luxury market or into a more expensive market, but you can be invited into it. I'm going to say that one more time. You can't buy your way into a luxury market, but you can be invited in. And there's a lot of caveats to that. If you're not in the room, if you're not at the event, if you're not networking, if you're not in the place, if you're not blowing them away, if you get an opportunity with them at a wedding, you're ruining your chance to get invited in. So one thing I like to say, and I know it's a little cliche, is that your network is your net worth. It's a little sounding like a dad joke almost, but your network is your net worth. And that's really true. Like, the more people that you know, every time you're at a wedding, every time you're at an event, you're networking. You're on display. Your actual brand is at that wedding, and people can see, oh, that's what they wear at would wear at my wedding if I were there. Maybe they're like a bridesmaid and they're saying, oh, I really liked how John was at that wedding. He made everybody comfortable. I want that at my wedding. Like, that's the best referral you can get. And the relationship that you can build with people, if you actually treat them well on wedding days or throughout the process, will help you raise your rates. So, your network is, your net worth. And so if you focus more on vendor relationships than growing followers, that will actually give you more followers. The more, I think there's this myth. It's like, oh, I need 10,000 followers or whatever. That was it for the longest time, because that just meant you had made it. And I remember thinking, man, what do I have to do to get to 10,000 followers? But I needed to shift my focus. I needed to think about the idea that it's like, oh, the followers will come, the right followers will come whenever I change my mindset, whenever I do these things well. So I started to focus more on vendor relationships than growing actual followers. And what do you know? In the last year, I've gone from like 6,500 followers to over 13,000 followers. Because I am just building relationships with the right vendors. I'm making friends. I'm connecting with them online. I'm DMing them. So relationships will raise your rates. So referrals will lead to more and more big bookings. And it's interesting that the more laps around the sun I do this, the network gets stronger, and I have to really kind of massage those relationships, make sure they remember I exist. That's part of what I do. And a lot of us are like, I just wanted to be an artist. I just wanted to make art. I mean, in 2025, if you're not able to sell the art, it's a hobby, and that's great if that's what you can afford to do. But if you're wanting to make this something that pays you and pays you well, you've got to work on those relationships. And you don't have to be at a big networking event. Think small. What's a one-on-one or a two-on-one that you can have with a couple other vendors just to go get together, go watch a movie, go get a cocktail, whatever, go to a show. hang out with people, get to know them. And the more that you're friends with these people, the more you will want to refer one another. So relationships are huge. So the last point on this is planners and vendors, when they vouch for you, they make your pricing stick. And what I mean by that is a lot of times, if you've gotten the inquiry, what are your prices? That's somebody that found you today or in the last couple of days, and they're just trying to get a cheap bargain. But if they're working with a planner that can explain to them and vouch for you, oh, John charges $10,000 because he really brings it. He shows up early. He stays late. He wears a suit. He's very personable on the wedding day. His footage is amazing. The final product is amazing. He's going to give you everything you need and more. He's going to fit really well with your family. All these different things. That makes your pricing stick. That makes people say, oh, okay, that's why it's worth it. I literally just did a wedding last weekend out of town, and I think it was a $16,000 wedding for a rehearsal dinner and then a wedding day. And that's it. And the reason I booked the wedding is because this bride was at a wedding I did in Telluride, Colorado 3 years ago. And she just remembered me. We followed each other online. And when she got engaged, she reached out and said, hey, you did such a good job on this wedding for Maddie and Pat. I have to have you at my wedding. When I sent my prices, she didn't balk. She didn't even think twice. She just said, okay, cool. Like, I'll send you the check. So relationships can raise your rates. And again, if you notice, I haven't said getting that new lighting or getting that new drone. There is a disclaimer that your work has to be amazing. Don't get me wrong. And as good as you can make it. And you should always be like having the best gear that you can afford. But just doing that extra course or doing that extra, light or drone or whatever, a lot of times is not going to be what's raising your prices. That's going to be what's validating your work. So it works hand in hand. My last point number five, not fine, excuse me. Consistency creates demand. So it's not the most talented who win in our industry. It's the most consistent. There are unicorns that are just so talented and their work is so good that they can be bad at social media and bad at networking and bad at the branding and all that, because the final product is so uniquely amazing that it's going to book them 10 to 15 weddings a year at a very high price point. And that's okay. If that's you, don't be mad at me, but most of us aren't blessed with that much talent or don't have that much skill or have not worked to that much skill quite yet. And so the consistency is what's going to matter most. So let's say this. What if you did 2 times a month this year for the rest of the year? We're in May. So 6 more months. So 12 times before the end of the year. What if you networked 12 times between now and the end of December? And 1 time a month was more personal and 1 time a month was a bigger group thing. Maybe it's a local networking group. Maybe it's an engage event. I have no idea. What would your business look like in 6 months? What would your relationships look like? You're consistent, right? Instead of being like, I'm going to network at 8 different events in the month of May, none in June, July, August, September. I'll go to 1 in October and then none until next May. Which person is going to have more success in their business? And that is where I have found the most success in my business. It's once I defined those ideal things, those ideal buyers, that sort of thing. And I know my brand voice and I know all these things. Now I can just be consistent. I know who I am. As we record this, we're in the middle of the NBA playoffs. Love them or hate them. I'm from Oklahoma, the Oklahoma City Thunder. I believe we're going to win the NBA championship this year. We'll see. You can timestamp me and send this to me if you want to. But I was listening to an interview with their now MVP, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, and he was like, we're not worried about the game because we play all 48 minutes of the game. We weren't worried in the first quarter because we knew if we did the right things for the whole game, we know we're a better team. We're more consistent. And that is kind of how I feel about our businesses, is like sometimes we get into the middle of that first quarter and we're down by 20 and we're like, we just give up. I suck at this. If you stick to the plan, you got to know the plan first, but then if you stick to it and work that plan, over time, you're going to win. And the cool thing about a wedding video business or a photo business or a planner or whatever you are, The thing about it that's awesome is if I'm winning, that does not mean that you're losing. This is not a piece of pie where I'm just taking from you and you can't have any. Yes, there are a limited number of weddings each year, but I think they're in the tens of thousands just in my state alone. And so consistency is what will create demand. It's not the most talented who win. It's the most consistent. So a couple of talking points on this is that, like, I want you to show up like I have, even when it feels slow. That's what builds momentum, and momentum is what you want in your brand. You want the wind at your back. You want it to feel like, wow, another inquiry I can share about, another booking I can post about, and more content, more relationships. Like, you get that momentum going. And what I saw in the Thunder game the other night, they got down by 15 points in the first quarter. They kept working the plan. They slowly got caught up. They were down by 4 at halftime, and they ended up winning the game by 26 points. And, they got the momentum. The momentum shifted in their direction. And what do you know? They just kept making shot after shot, and their defense made stop after stop, and they just ran the play. And that is what you do. Even though you feel like it's slow, you keep showing up. You keep posting on social media. You keep editing new little clips for Instagram. You keep doing that networking so that you can build the momentum. And then when you have that momentum, things start to really fall into place. So I want you to also post with purpose, behind the scenes, client interactions, luxury moments. These kinds of things are going to help you to stay consistent and create demand. And, you by being consistent with those things and showing behind the scenes, showing client reactions, luxury moments, stuff like that, people are going to see the real you, and that helps you to be more in demand. So by being in demand, that honestly became the theme of my online presence over the last 6 months, which has allowed me to book 23 weddings so far this year to the tune of $250,000. Which is awesome for that, that amount of weddings, lots of profit, lots of margin for me to have a lot of fun with these. And now I'm able to go to the weddings, and I'm posting teasers, and I'm posting behind the scenes, and I'm showing more of that purpose, and it's creating a demand where people then see those posts and reach out and say, hey, I haven't forgot about following up on my wedding. I am waiting on a wedding date. I think I'm booking April of next year. Are you still available? You create this demand, which gives you even more reason to be able to book them, raise prices. And then this creates a compounding effect of being seen as trustworthy over time. Think about it. If I keep showing up and people keep seeing that I'm going to these places and keep seeing, I got a phone call today. I've added photography to my brand. I got a phone call from someone saying, hey, I've been meaning to reach out to you for a while. I keep seeing your posts. My daughter needs photography for her wedding. They're a friend of a friend, and they just reached out and said, I need to book you. What do I need to do? That compounding effect of being seen over and over created a trust where they're reaching out saying, I'm ready to book you. And that's a difference, way huge difference in being that brand that just wants to attract everybody. I have a bonus point for you. I think this might be the biggest point. I probably should have just called this episode 6 things that help me raise my prices. But my bonus point is that you must believe that you're worth it. And to believe you're worth it, you actually have to be worth it. You can't just say I'm worth it. You have to know in your bones that what you're offering is worth it. So if you don't believe you're worth 10,000, no one else will believe it either. Think about that. You can't believe it truly if you aren't offering $10,000 worth of value. So what needs to change? Your branding, your work, your social media, your network, whatever it is. Until you can believe it, you can't charge it. And so, on that, pricing isn't just math, it's mindset. Think about that. Your pricing has to do a lot with your mindset towards your brand. No one's going to offer you more money just because you're like, oh, I'll charge you 3,000. And they're like, nah, I want to pay you 10,000. That's not how that works. And scarcity is a lot of the times what people are doing. They have a scarcity mindset. And their scarcity thinking is what keeps them undercharging. Oh, I'm afraid I won't book out my season. Maybe book a handful of weddings at a lower price and then raise them, get a little more confident, a little more momentum, raise the prices, be consistent, keep showing up. And if you keep doing that, you're going to consistently raise your prices and look back and be like, I used to charge that much. What in the world? And then after a while, you kind of find your range. I've kind of been in this, higher end, lower luxury market for a while. I've done some weddings over the 30K range and they've been okay. I love the money of them, but like I've found kind of my happy place up here and like currently in this like $15,000 to $25,000 range, not doing ultra luxe, but definitely doing some very high end weddings. And so if you're a scarcity mindset, glass half empty mindset, get someone in your life that is a glass half full kind of person. And if you're a person that's like, there's a drip of water in the cup and you're like, the glass is half full, you need to find somebody that's a little more pessimistic so you don't raise your prices too much too soon. So scarcity thinking will keep you undercharging. Another little note under this mindset, the believing you're worth it, is whenever I changed my mindset and stopped apologizing for my pricing, that's when things started to change. If you're like, oh, I'm sorry, I'm qualified, I've done this for years, that's why the price is what it is, you've lost. Like if you know you're worth 10,000 or 5,000 or 20 or whatever, and you go in and you say, hey, it's $18,500 for this package. This is the deposit. This is the payment schedule. This is whatever. And they say, wait, it's $18,500. And you go, yeah, that's how much it costs for my brand. And I completely understand if you don't want to invest that. I get it. If you can find somebody else that you trust, has the experience and the quality that I have, that's going to take care of you the way that I know I can take care of you. I would strongly recommend you go with them. But if not, I do feel like I'm the right fit for you. And I've done this for 19 years and I've never had a bad review because I take care of people like you. That is confident. That is exactly the confidence that you need to stop apologizing for the prices that you have. So, a couple of simple practices for you, that you might do, if you're into this, verbal affirmations, telling yourself, writing it down, saying, I am worth it. I know I'm worth it. I've got this skill. I'm this, like, give yourself some affirmations. Mindset coaching, like hire a mindset coach, get around the right people that are playing at a higher level. You're listening to my voice. I'm playing at a higher level than I was 10 years ago. And every time I do a mentor session, I'm talking to somebody and they're just like, oh my gosh, I didn't even think of it like that. I've always been so afraid. And there's a fear-based mindset, a scarcity mindset instead of an abundance mindset or a faith-based mindset or a positive mindset. And so affirmations, coaching, surrounding yourself with people that are playing at a higher level, these kinds of things are going to help you believe that you're worth it. So, as I close up today on the 5 things that help me raise my prices in the industry, I want to remind you of the 5 of them. Number 1 is clarity on your brand and your buyer. Number 2 is building a premium brand presence. Number 3 is being seen by the right people. Number 4, relationships raised my rates. And number 5, consistency created demand with our bonus that you must believe you're worth it. Before we head out today, I do want to tell you about our friends at howtofilmweddings.com/outsourcing. If you go over to that link, we have a list of approved editing outsourcing partners that you can hire to edit your films. I know we're all getting busy and there are so many people in our inboxes every week saying they want to edit for us. Don't trust anyone. Head over to that list that we have over at howtofilmweddings.com/outsourcing and know that you can trust you're going to get really good work from those vendors. Okay. So there you have it. The 5 things and a bonus, that helped me go from undercharging to building a business that I'm proud of. I'll ask you, if this episode hit home for you, I'd love to hear what resonated most. Shoot me a DM on Instagram at howtofilmweddings or tag us in your stories. And if you haven't yet, please hit the subscribe button, leave a review. It helps more filmmakers like you find the show. So thank you for hanging out today. Now go out there and raise your prices on purpose. That's all I have for today. Until next time, I'll see you.